Hello everyone, Revan619 here, how the devil are you? Today's video I'm going to be doing something a little bit differently. Normally my build guides, I don't go for one-for-one explaining what gear you need in different sections of the game. One of the reasons for this is I kind of like people to sort of explore and do stuff on their own. However, I've been getting a lot of requests and a lot of complaints that people just honestly really do not know what to put on them and they want a little bit more hand-holding than what I have been providing. So, with not meaning to disappoint, I think I'll actually do a little bit of that and explain some of the gear progression for the party as you go through various points in the game. Currently, I am in Act 1 and I have just got into Rykad, and this is where I go to on the third part, so there's always going to be this lovely little fight here with these devastating Rebel agitators here, and I want to go through sort of the gearing that I've gone here. Now, my main character is a soldier gunslinger, and he is a commissar. So the Ripper auto pistol is in his main hand because I want that 3 to 5 damage to be what I'm going to be buffing allies with, and in his offhand I have the faux hammer. Now, I don't need a burst and a shotgun pistol yet because I'm not arc militant, but I find having the two different styles quite useful. Secondary is a lasgun because the range is very effective. I have moved him over to the improved armor body glove and given him the tactical goggles. Now let's have a little look at some of the companions as well. Oh, and just in case you were wondering, yes, I have the stalker gloves over here and I have the Von Valancier's cloak because that little +5 applying to everywhere is quite nice. And as of 1.5, anyone can equip this, but this might be a bug caused by the update. Now, for our main man, Abalard, I have moved away from shields and I don't currently equip them, though unless you're playing a soldier, you wouldn't have shields at this point. I like to keep a sword in the primary hand just because it gets that 10% parry, and it also gives -10 to enemy weapon skill when hit, which obviously will help get a little bit more of the excess weapon skills when you're trying to set up some of your attacks. Now, you do want to go for the heavy leather armor that you can get from the pirates in the open world just before you come down here, and from the prologue, the deck officer's helmet will actually get him up to 45% damage reduction, which is quite nice. Offhand, we put the unquenchable fury. You want this high armor pen weapon here because it will do a lot of damage, and it also provides a really good AoE. I don't recommend the Silent Verdict too much because there's very low armor pen, but it's not bad to have as a secondary. But with fleet combat training, you're going to want to focus on having these dual weapons. I put the Gloves of Endurance on him because he's most likely going to be the one to get the injuries, as well as the Grace of the Oblivious just to get that toughness up to the 60, so we're getting a little bit more out of that. And I'm using one of the DLC items on here, the Xenopelt Cloak, which is when the wearer receives 5 less damage from critical hits and also gets 10 coercion. It's not bad to have. Over on Idra, because Cassia's only just joined us, I've got the Warp Seer's goggles on her, so that way I've got a little bit more to lure warp, though eventually I will swap these on and off for Cassia as I need them for checks. She is also using an armor body glove as well. Honestly, I haven't even looked to see if I've got any upgrades. I could put the fencing body glove on her or even move that over to Kibellah, but I do like having that agility. In one set, she's got her psychic staff, so she can get some AoEs, but chances are she could explode and take out the whole team. So in the secondary, I've got the long las, which you pick up from Urek 5, and I will be focusing mostly on just using her as a sniper, so that way I don't accidentally suck and kill the whole team. For Argenta, I've taken off her medium armor and put her into light just so she's got a higher dodge chance, though if you wanted to keep to the medium armor you could, but I don't really find having that extra 10% damage reduction to be all that worthwhile. I've given her my Grim Darkness icon because this doesn't stop Idra from dying. I've also given her the Thrice Pioneers braces so we can get some more debuffs on enemies because she will be doing the burst fire, as well as given her Theodora's Rosary just to get some Lord Imperium in the early game, and the Camouflage robe because the wearer's range attack decreased their target's dodge by 5%. It does not stack. Now, I've put on the Mark of the Rule, which are on DLC items, but I don't use it too much, but it will get boosted by her Listening of Hatred. In the primary hand, we've got the Servatus Auto Pattern gun. I would recommend using a las rifle if you don't pick this up. Basically, you need to drop her starting bolter ASAP. This is something loads of people misunderstand Argenta and say that she's terrible in the early game. This is not true at all. What is terrible in the early game is Unfading Valor. Her starting bolter has 40 recoil. That's more than most heavy guns. By switching her down to a 15 recoil gun, or even a lower one on the las guns, you will get a lot more benefit out of her. So I highly recommend switching over to that. And if you want to lower enemies' dodge, you can go with, like, say, the well-maintained las gun if you've got that, or just a regular las gun. And secondary, putting the shotgun in there, or the blast wave, which is one of the DLC ones, yeah, this is going to be incredibly effective, because not only will it knock back enemies, it can sometimes cause them to have their turn skipped, and you will do a lot of damage from it. Moving on to Cassia. From the prologue, I keep her with the helmet of the Devoted Protector just so she doesn't get one shot. Keep her in light armor. I haven't found an upgrade for her just yet. Moved over the Noble Silk Gloves to her to get that +5 bonus. Now, I am using the Road Trader's Cloak because you get the Officer's Cloak just in this area. So she probably won't get much use out of this cloak, and you could possibly put on Kibellah and Abalard, but it's just something I've got on her for now. Making sure on her primary set, I've got the Infusing Staff, so her buffs will actually apply extra stats to allies. And in her secondary, I've got the Cascading Staff, so her offensive powers will apply debuffs to enemies, so it's very good to switch between them in combat to make sure you're using the correct one to either buff allies or debuff enemies. Lastly, for you DLC enjoyers, over on Kibellah, the first thing you need to do with her is switch away from her starting Spinner's Blade, because it only has 5% armor pen, so it's a big drop to your damage possibility. So just go with one of the Mars pattern swords, and then secondary in the Wrath of St. Drusius. Yeah, very good. You can actually switch this the other way around, so that way her Death from Above will apply it as well. And yeah, this will be very effective. You can even use the Noble Sword. The Noble Sword is also very good to have in the primary, because you can stack that extra 6 base damage, so you could potentially swap this the other way around and have it like this. So her Death from Above will apply the Disturbed effect, and then you'll get an extra +6 on all follow-up hits. Like I said, you can do it either way. Perfectly fine. Again, the +5 dodge is really good from here, and it will also give you +5% against melee attacks. So yeah, making sure you have good parry on her is going to be very vital with the changes to Death from Above. I've got Face of the Sovereign on here for now, though you could always swap over to the Zero Sum lens. But yeah, Face of the Sovereign is just a straight upgrade to the Spinner's Mask, and just making sure everyone's got their Medicae and even some grenades. Now, one of the best grenades you can get here is the Force Grenade, so just throwing a backup of that on everyone's very useful. At this point with Abalard as well, because you won't get much out of his agility, you can very easily give him the Vicious Solution and then just inject him with that, so you've got that little bit of extra deflection. Yes, you will take 10 to agility, but we are going to build up perception anyway, and we're going to go dead last because everyone in our team has much higher agility than us anyway, so we're not exactly going to be outrolling them. But do not give Idra the Shimmering Emulsion. Make sure you save that for Heinrix. I might not have covered Missionary Oath, but sometimes you want to give everyone on your team an extra 1 AP turn, so that is there for you. If we jump ahead to level 15 after the events of DLC 1, for those of you enjoying the Void Shadows DLC, and right before you go to the Plasma Reactor, when you have just recruited Heinrix, you should be around level 15. As we can see, my gear has changed somewhat. Whilst I have Missionary Oath on my main character here, it's not something I need to have here. It's still better suited to being on Idra. But the gear there has not changed all too much, but some things have moved around. So still got the Ripper Auto Pistol in there because that 8 rate of fire is obscene, and still got the Foe Hammer because it's the only reliable area. Though if you have built into Plasma Pistols, you can equip a Plasma Pistol at this point. In the secondary, I've upgraded to the Ripper, which is a fantastic DLC 1 auto gun, which again you could have used on Argenta if you haven't got the modified bolter yet. In his head, I've got the noise suppression helmet, so when he kills an enemy within 1 cell radius with a shot, they gain +1 resolve until the end of combat. So that's quite good if you're using the plasma pistol here, though I still do prefer the Foe Hammer. I've gone with the Simp Skin to get his dodge up a little bit. He is using the Book of War Prayers, which could go on another companion, but it's something here. I've moved over the Thrice Pioneer's Braces to him, and he's also got the Warmonger Boots, so if his burst attack does happen to kill 2 or more enemies with a single attack, that attack does not spend all of our MP. We also still have on the Von Valancius Cloak because, well, it just makes us look absolutely dapper. Moving over to Big Man Abalard, we have upgraded to the Casing Chestplate. Now, we do have access to the Ceramite Stormtrooper Carapace, so if you wanted to go with that to get an extra 5% armor damage reduction, you can do that. The deflection will only -1 damage, but like 5%, if they're only doing 5 damage, 5% of that is not going to be all that much. So it's up to you what you want to go for. I honestly think that at this point in the game, the armor deflection is going to be a little bit more valuable. We've got the Helm of Determination, so we can get an extra armor on here as well as a little bit more fellowship. But I've put in his secondary the Power Pick, and I am using the Soul Pattern Chainsword. In his secondary weapon set, I'm also got the Shovel for the memes, along with the Quenching Fury in case you really want to yeet something with your harsh shove. Got the first aid manual over here, which is reducing the cost of medkits. He's still got the Gloves of Endurance, but he has upgraded to Pneumo Boots, so his charge now costs only 1 AP, and on crits that will allow us to get an offhand attack, and he still has the Xenopelt Cloak. Cassia's gear hasn't changed all too much. She's actually using the fencing body glove just because it's got 25% armor, but yeah, 10% dodge and parry against melee attacks. Not going to come in too useful for her, but it's just something on there. Now, once you get the Medal of Alacrity, this will be an absolutely huge boost to you because you'll be given 3 AP on Bring It Down. The Commander's Cloak to increase your voice command by 1 cell is pretty useful, and I have moved over the Warp Seer's goggles to her. Cassia will still be using the Infusing and the Castigation staffs. Over on Idra, using the Missionary Oath is still going to be pretty good for her, along with the Stalker's Glove. She's got the Phantom Cloak on there, but again, 15% damage reduction against warp damage isn't really all that effective. I've put on the Analyst's Helm because she is using sniping along with the Psychic Body Glove, and she's still using that Long Lads with a secondary charge staff, but the Long Lads, again, it's going to be the safest option for her. We have picked up Pascal. Now, Pascal I am building for plasma weaponry, though he can use the arc rifle at the only point, but it does sometimes just randomly miss. Some encounters you are going to want to use the sniper rifle for the extra range. Putting on the tactical goggles is very useful for him in the early game, along with using the hypnotizing pendant. It's not too bad. I normally give him whatever the best medium armor is that I can get to try and just get some of that damage reduction because he's not going to dodge with how low his agility is. Giving him the sniper gloves is something that I like to do, along with the emergency injector, just so if he does die, he's got a way to come back. And because you're not going to move very much with him, the metronome is going to be something that is quite useful, and you can use that on extra turns. Next up to Kibellah, she is still using the Noble Sword and the Wrath of St. Drusus. You'll actually find that these are some of the best ones that you have available to you. I put in her secondary the Ratobi Pattern Greatsword, but it isn't something that we need to use all that much right now. She has gone along and got the Reaper Cape. Using the Skirmisher Boots is something that's uniquely good for her because she has a higher chance to proc them, being a Void Born. And I've also given her her unique Martyr's Bone Charm, so sometimes you can get plus 10 toughness, as well as the Blood Drinker, so every time she does the Death from Above or any other attack, she gets plus 1 wounds regained. And she's still using her Light Spinner's Breastplate and the Face of the Sovereign. At this point, Cassia has her modified bolter, which is absolutely fantastic. You can combine the Blast Wave with the Relished Anguish, so she can generate a lot of temporary health that makes her very tanky in this stage. Or if you were using the knockback more, you can use that on Abalard, but Argenta will get a lot of mileage out of that. She's using the Death World Light Flak Armor to get an extra increased agility there, as well as the Pinpoint Visor, because on her burst fire this will apply as those shots are hitting. And yes, the modified bolter, now that we have a 25 recoil instead of a 40 recoil bolter, this is a lot more effective. As for Heinrix, I do recommend using the Shimmer Emulsion on him to bring that PR up to 3. And as you can see in the gear, in his secondary slot, you do want the Veil Render. Now, the Veil Render will give an exceeding amount of flat damage increases to your attacks from offhand attacks. That makes it very good with Breakthrough and Shearing Strikes to just insanely stack up. I've got at the moment the Road Trader's Cloak because he's going to be in melee fighting enemies, so the extra fellowship bonuses will help with his resolve game. He's currently got the Avenger's Gauntlets on, so attacks of opportunity deal extra agility based damage, and he's using the Daemon Tool. Now the Daemon Tool you could have on Cassia as well, so her the stare sets enemies on fire, and using stuff like the Spinner's Ritual Vestments will give him extra wounds as well as giving him more dodge. And you can secondary either the Pyromancy Staff if you've built into Pyromancy at this point, or you can have the Biomancer Staff which can revive dead allies. But ideally you are going to be wanting to focus on that Breakthrough and using the Veil Render in that offhand along with the main hand with say Soul Siphon. As you are leaving Footfall, you should be around level 18 to 19 depending on everything you did, and we've got some changes to our gear again. Now because I'm building for a Soldier Gunslinger, a lot of my gear is going to overlap with what would be on Jay if you went the Master Tactician route, which is why I've gone for the Overseer route, so he's going to fill in for a little bit of that. So I've moved over the Helm of Determination because obviously I get a lot more armor coming in over here. I'm still using the Simp Skin for the extra dodge, as well as using the Pair Holster, so if I get a crit in the main hand, my high rate of fire, I can use the upgraded Faux Hammer in the offhand. Using the Deflection Gloves so I can make a melee parry, so that's very useful to be in the front for a pistol user, along with still using the Book of War Prayers, still got the Von Valancia's Cloak, and I've even got the Warmonger Boots still in play. The secondary is still the Ripper because there's not been too many changes to go with something else, though I could always put in the Long Lass if I really wanted to. Looking over to Abalard, I've given him the Enforcer's Helmet to help with his Taunting Scream. He's still got the Casing Chestplate and still got the Grace of the Oblivious, but his items now changed First Aid Manual and the Terugian's Manual, so we can get some extra MP after using those 1 AP Medicae. Because I picked up the Adapted Gloves, our weapon skill and parry has increased, which means that we can use a higher damage Chain Axe in the primary, and in the offhand the Executioner Maul. We will probably get another sword once we find another one, and in the secondary I've put in a Thunder Hammer in case I needed some big AoEs. Still using Pneuma Boots and still using the Xenopelt Cloak and still absolutely loving Fleet Combat Training. Over on Cassia, we have picked up the Commander's Monocle, which means that her extra turns are going to start increasing damage. She's still using a silly armor piece because I've not really picked up something better, though I will be getting upgrades to that fairly soon. Still using Medal of Alacrity, still got the Noble Silk Gloves because there aren't many glove options for her, and the Commander's Cloak is still going to be coming in clutch. Still got the Infusing 5, but we have upgraded to a Devastating Bloodhound Staff, so we can get 2 uses of Lidless Stare or even Held in My Gaze. And we now use the Sororitas Boots because if we can kill 5 trash mobs, we will get Finest Hour on turn 1, so that is incredibly useful. For Idra, we have gone full sniper mode, so she's now using the Rebel Sniper Rifle, which you get from killing the chap at the end of Aurora. I am using the Analyst Helmet, along with the Metronome still, and the Target Designator, so we can start reducing enemy deflection. Still got on the Missionary Oath, still got on Psych Body Gloves, still got on that Charged Staff, though if you have gone into Santic, you would be able to swap over to the Fast Sanctified Staff, and I've even given her the Emergency Injector that Pascal previously had, the Sniper Gloves that were from Act 1, and the Psyker's Footwear, so she'll get 3% dodge until the end of combat for every psi power that she uses, and it does stack. Just remember, using psi powers on her is very risky, and I still don't like to use that around here. Because I've gone to Overseer, she does have the Psy-Conductive Frame, which you get from Footfall. Next up, Argenta. On Footfall, she gets an upgrade to her bolter, the Ratobi pattern bolter, and you can come back later to get the Imperial Pride. You just got to leave and come back. Sometimes you can do this after Janus, or if you announce yourself, you literally just leave Footfall, then you warp straight back. Still got on the Pinpoint Visor, still using the Simp Skin, still using that Blast Wave, along with the Kibellah Cloak, which we picked up from Jay. But yeah, we're still absolutely crutching on the Relish Anguish, but so far we are now stacking the Imperial Scroll with Theodore's Rosary to help with that Lore Imperium, though we're going to be able to start moving away from that now that we have picked up Jay. Pascal at this point has his full plasma gun, and he's now using the Pirate Chainmail because with his Reject the Flesh, he's now got 60% damage reduction. Using the Grenader's Cloak on him along with the Grenader's Gloves, so we can start throwing out more grenades in combat. Yeah, grenades are very effective, still using the Tactical Goggles and the Hypnotizing Pendant, but we're going to start wanting to put all of our spending for Reputation into trying to get him the Self-Calibrating Goggles, because that will give him multiple attacks with Hunter's Ambush from Bounty Hunter. Kibellah got some big upgrades here. We've got the Anvar's Chainsaw, so we can start lowering enemies' armor, which is pretty nice, and we're secondarying the Elite Chainsword. Because of the Unpen and the base damage increases, these are some pretty big upgrades. We need to get towards Drukhari weapons to start getting more dots, but by now you will want to have had Dogmatic 2 because you have a lot of Executioners in the party. Still using the Face of the Sovereign, still using Light Spinner's Breastplate, still using Martyr's Bone Charm as long as Blood Drinker, the Crimson Oblivion, and now we've gone up to the Reaper's Cape to help with her dodge reduction for her death from above, and she's still getting uses out of the Skirmisher Boots. At this point, you can swap out, say, to the Serrated Greatsword, because that will now, with the extra bleeding, will work with her things for her Executioner. Heinrix, pretty much the same. I've just given him the Interrogation Goggles. Now, he actually has quite a lot of Lord Xenos, because Heinrix comes with base skill and advanced skill Lord Xenos. Whilst I don't normally build into Lord Xenos, it's actually a perfectly viable option to build Lord Xenos on Heinrix. He gets a plus 20 bonus, so if you wanted to put those extra 60 points into Lord Xenos, he will get over 100 here. So you can get, what, 60 from his base, 20 from the base skill and the advanced skill, so that will get 80, and then 30 from his intelligence. So yeah, about 110. You won't be making those endgame checks, but it's not bad to try and invest into it. But yeah, he won't ever have the intelligence that you need to have some exceptional skill there. But still using Spinner's vestments, but we've gone for the Navy Swashbuckler Cloak because, yeah, with Blade of Light, you are going to start doing some obscene armor penetration as soon as you get that. And we've given him the Inertia Boots. This will help him generate MP when he's using Slash, so you'll be able to just put on officer buffs on him to really get his agility up and get 3 to 4 slashes out of him, which will really push Veil Degradation and cause Veil Render to be doing plus 100 flat damage. So yes, his damage will be very high, and it will also then start stacking with his dots. So you want to have as much attack economy as possible with his execution and stuff. So yeah, this is very good. Once you can go to the Derelict Void Chip, I don't recommend doing that at level 18. You're probably going to want to come back after level 20 and you've done Janus, but that is where you'll get the Augmented Gloves. And yeah, the Augmented Gloves will give him a plus 10 to weapon skill and extra strength. Those are going to be very useful for our man Heinrix. We've recruited Jay, and like I said, she is overlapping quite a bit with our main character. Now, the bayonet knife is something you can put on a optive executioner if you're building for that, but so far I've given her the Thrice Pioneer's bracers, she's got dynamo boots, and she's got the Mantle of Heroism. You could give this to, say, Argenta or something. I've given her the light flak armor as well as the deck officer helmet, but like I said, there's a lot of overlapping gear that could have been over from him to her because they're both built the same. Secondary, I've given her a shotgun, and she's using her shuriken pistol and the hotshot las pistol for the extra arm pen for tougher enemies, though you could perfectly viably and just be absolutely fine giving her the splinter pistol, and she can keep with her Xenos pistols and there'll be no problem whatsoever. Moving on to her pet, because this version I've gone for the Overseer. Yeah, she's got the Beyond Logic, which you get from Footfall, and yeah, it suffers no damage from area attacks. That's something you can abuse, by the way, with items that where you can area attack allies later. Just realized I hadn't changed the color. There we go. This is where we are around level 18. Moving on to Janus and around level 24. So our main gunslinger here is still using his Ripper Auto pistol and his Riser Pattern Foe Hammer, but we have picked up the Hotshot Lasgun, which is a fantastically high armor penetration for rate of fire ranged weapon. Still using the same Warmonger boots, still using the Deflection Gauntlet, still got the Portative Manipulator on here with the Pair Holster, which is very good for getting those free AP reloads on pistols. Still got the Deflection Gloves. I've picked up the Focus Incense from Footfall, and I'm using the Provocateur helmet because I'm going to be quite close, so again, enemies' perception to be lowered will mean that I'll dodge more attacks in close combat. Looking at Abalard, we've got a very powerful setup. By combining Epiphany with the Pneumo Boots, we can essentially have infinite 1 AP charges as long as we kill. We've also got the Malpain Shroud online with Invigorating Resolve, so he is going to be absolutely obscene. As you can see, with the Temperis Carapace and the Guardian Crown, we're also incredibly tanky because we've got up to 65% armor and we've also got 6 deflection. Yeah, Abalard's going to be incredibly hard to kill. He's got the Adaptive Gloves on here, so his parry's going to be fantastic. He's got high arm pen with Excruciating Maul. We've got the Industrial Hammer if we want to do any of those big AoEs, and I am currently using the Disinfection to increase his carouse. If you were going over with a shield build, then obviously you could do something like the Solid Shield Narmes, and I've not actually put on a secondary item here. You could easily have the Combat Manipulator, so if you were using a lot of things like, well, I haven't used many on this run, but if you're using stuff like Stims, which are very, very good, and also using Scorcher, this can help get you a lot of attacks, and these are going to be the secret to one-turning encounters to be able to reset and get extra AP on those attacks. So at this point, level 24, you'll be easily one-turning encounters. With the uses of Stims, you can actually do it from level 18 with a good Cassia setup. Moving on to Idra, she can either be built for full sniper mode, or you can also build her into support staff here. So I've got the Warp Conductor gloves, which will increase her psi rating, but it means the higher the psi rating goes, the more likely she is to explode and die. The Spirit Drape can either be on her or Heinrix, depending on where you want to use it, but this is going to be absolutely fantastic, especially if you're using the Biomancer AoE buffs to buff the party, which I am on this run. I've currently got the Cultist Hood on here, which again, like I said, using Powers on Idra is always very risky, but she's still using Psycho's Footwear and the Chameleon Cloak. I've given her the Gem of Dark Vitality, just because at high Veil Degradation it gives her a little bit of extra toughness, and she's using Auspex because I was mostly using her for my awareness check, so for spot and traps, and she's still got her Psychic Body Glove. At this point from Footfall, I had picked up the Heavy Bolter, and by level 24, Argenta is fully online to use it, and she is an absolute beast. So you've got the Heavy Bolter in one set, you've got the Combat Shotgun in the other. She's got those recoil gloves to help lower the recoil by 50%, so the rate of the recoil on this goes down to 20 from 40. She's got the Pneumo Boots because she's going to be moving around a lot, using the Cloak of Hatred because, yeah, area attacks are just fantastic, and Book of War Prayers. Now, one of the things that you can also do is you can give her the Blessed Bolter Casing, which allows her to use a Heavy Bolter as a sniper, so when you use Firearm Mastery and Litany of Hatred on the same turn, yeah, you'll get like 8+ free attacks that you'll be able to cross-map people, and yeah, you'll just do absolutely insane things, and still the Pinpoint Visor working with her rapid fire is obscene. And at this point I've also managed to give her the Death World Origin Enforcers like Carapace, which is going to be her endgame armor until you get the 1-star. Cassia has finally got the Slick Body Glove, so as you can see she's got very high dodge currently, still using the Commander's Monocle and the Medal of Alacrity. She's picked up the Signet Ring, so she's going to get some extra awareness. I've thrown on the Mark of the Ruler here, not meant to do that, and I Don't know why I said awareness, I meant persuasion. Still using noble silk gloves, the commander's cloak and the sororitas boots, so yeah, they're all good for those checks. We've upgraded to the staff of House Cassidy, so we've got 7 infusing now. We've still got the bloodhound staff now, so we've got devastating 6 on there, or you could be using the red crystal staff. It's up to you which you want to be going for. But yeah, she's going to be absolutely great for buffing. Like I said, you can be using stuff like stims on her as well. I hadn't really been using them, but yeah, abusing those stims because you have a lot of them, they will help get you through some really tough encounters. Looking at Pascal, yep, he is very much online. Now, he can take advantage of the stun from Cassia's little stare with his single attacks, or he can use self-calibrating goggles to trigger Hunter's ambush. I'm still using the hypnotizing pendant, though the slow, it doesn't really add too much, it's just nice to have. I've also got the pirate chainmail on here. I'll probably take off the skirmisher boots because I probably shouldn't be using them. I am going to put them on Kibellah. I've taken them off for an encounter. The pirate chainmail, yep, we've got that on here, which is looking absolutely good. We've picked up the combi tool to increase his tech use, and he's still using the metronome. Got the plasma shaper gloves, so we've got him some extra tech use coming in here, and also increasing the plasma gloves damage by 3. Still got the grenadier cloak, and we've managed to upgrade to the heavy plasma gun. Yeah, we have a lot of armor pen, and using the overcharge protocols as well with the reload bug, yeah, we are doing some insane damage on Pascal. He is really strong. Having fixed Kibellah's gear, by level 24, you can now go into the Venom Blade, which means she is going to be absolutely fucking insane. Now, because she uses dance partners, I don't give her a weapon skill increasing gloves, so she can use the Crimson Oblivion, which is her unique DLC 1 gloves. She's still using Navy Swashbuckler Cloak, which is very good. Skirmish Boots going to be very useful for movement, and still got that Anvar's Chainsaw in the offhand, and she's still got the Serrated Greatsword. Though her gear hasn't changed, what she has access to in talents is going to be absolutely obscene at this point. So you're going to have Does It Hurts and So of Distress, so you can crit on your dots and you can do a lot of damage from them. She's still going to be generating stuff with Face of the Sovereign, though you could potentially start getting ready to change that out for something else. Heinrix is still going to be doing just dandy. He can take advantage of a lot of the spinner stuff, so you can use something like the Lightspin's Breastplate or even the Silent Death, depends on which you really want. I'm using the Lightspin's the Lightspin's Breastplate just to get the extra agility, so we can get more uses out of Slash. We put on the Chirurgeon Manual to get on some more Medicae, along with the same for the First Aid Manual. We should actually have, now that I think about it, there's a Medicae increasing item that I haven't equipped on either of them. Where's that wandered off to? Oh no, it comes from the Derelict Voyager. Sorry, I'm thinking ahead. I'm at a different point. But anyway, the Require Meter is something very good for here, because with Biophysical Distortion, a Require Meter will actually put Toxin on enemies, so you'll preload Toxin from this AoE damage, which is pretty useful. We can stack higher dots with his Pack of Regents, and from the Derelict Void Ship, you do pick up the Augmented Gloves, which will come in very nicely to get his weapon skill up. You've still got the Inertia Boots, still offhanding the Veil Render, but this time we are now using the Ancient Force Sword. Currently, at the moment, we've got the tactical goggles on him because I haven't got an upgrade to his helmet just yet. Still got the Pyromancy Staff, so for that times when you need to do a Where It Hurts secondary Inferno Blast, which is still pretty good when you think about it, because you, on the strike count here, so how many shots of Inferno do we take? Still got the Pyromancy Staff in the secondary because we've not got the staff upgrade just yet. Like I said, you can still be using the Sanctified Staff, or you can just be saving this to go into the next one, so you can Where It Hurts with that to do a lot of proccing. But yeah, with the Pack of Regents, yeah, Heinrix is very much online doing a lot of damage. Looking over to Jay, yeah, she's quite a tanky girl now. She's got 67% armor and 85% dodge. I am using the Chirurgeon Vow on her, which gives her a little bit more toughness, which is kind of funny. Though she hasn't quite hit that point, so you could easily swap this out for something else. Char's Pendant's actually pretty useful for getting her fellowship up, so you can use that there. She already uses Law Imperium from other stats, so yeah, you don't need to worry about that too much. Heart of Nameless is very good because it gives her extra increases to her Law Imperium, and she'll be using some gear that turns Law Imperium to armor, such as the St. Cognatius' Scripture. I've got the Death World light flak armor on her, but I will be getting ready once I do DLC 1 in the Crypt fight to get in the Breaches armor on her, which is going to be absolutely insane. Still using her alien pistols, and we've now got the secondary of the Swarm Protector, so if you were into Master Tactician, this is very good for building that up. Commissar Boots are absolutely fantastic on her to generate some more movement, and she's using the light flak armor Act 1. And yes, so she's still doing pretty well, still using Thrice Pioneer's Braces, still using Road Trader's Cloak, so she's very good at being tanky and in the front lines as like a forward officer. And lastly, we have picked up Urilet, so a lot of the sniper gear has gone over to her. You definitely want to pick up the Hunter Father's armor, but with some of her unique stuff like the Wraithbone necklace, yeah, she's going to have a lot of agility and perception. Same with like the Ergo boots, increasing her agility. She can use the Cape of Righteous Fury to get extra crit chance, because her ballistic skill isn't exactly the highest. Yeah, sniper gloves going to be very useful here, as is the bead of concentration and using the target designator. And yeah, having Wanderer's Potent along with her Path of the Outcast will increase her attack economy quite nicely. Same with Heretic too. And she's just secondary got an Aldari long rifle. There aren't many Aldari weapons in Act 2 early on for her, so she is going to be a bit sparse when it comes to that. As for pet protocols, at this point I've got the Warp Conductive Frame for Idra, and on my Overseer Jay, she is currently using Beyond Logic still. Now we'll move to the end of Act 2, and probably the last section that I'll need to cover, because in all my build videos these tend to be around the beginning of Act 4, so the items that you'll see in Act 4 is going to be what you'll be using in Act 4 in all of those build videos. So at level 35, I've still got the Provocator's helmet on my main gunslinger so he can be up front, but I've also picked up the dog tags, so it's very nice to stack up some of those stats, so that could go to any of your companions. He's got the Swordsman Body Glove at the moment. This is just to get him some more dodge, because an extra amount of dodge stacking is actually pretty nice coming in here. Still using the Portive Manipulator with the Pair Holster. Pair Holster is probably one of the best items in the game and something that so many people compete for. He's finally picked up the Marksman Braces, so we've got very high ballistic skill and critical damage coming in. Still using the Von Valancius Cloak and the Warmonger Boots. There aren't actually that many upgrades for when it comes to cloaks and boots for ranged companions. Still using that Ripper Auto Pistol so we can buff allies, and if you were a Hive World, that you would be able to increase it to rate of 9 fire. And we've managed to upgrade the secondary slot of the Rise of Pattern Foe Hammer, so yeah, we're doing some pretty good things. There are going to be some good buffs that we'll start seeing in Act 3 and Act 4 for that. Moving on to Abalard, he is still rocking, moving on to Abalard, we've now got 70% damage reduction as well as 6 armor deflection, and our damage reduction will increase because of Dependable. Yeah, still using that Invigorating Resolve, which is absolutely fantastic, along with the Malpain Shroud. Still abusing Epiphany with the Pneumo Boots. These are two very powerful combos. Offhand, we've got Wrath of the Vile Rabble, which is just a very high damage, high armor penetration secondary, which will follow up with Fleet Combat Training. Currently, I'm using the Empyrean Transceiver and the Peculiar Trinket. You're going to get more value out of these for if you are a Vanguard, but I'm not a Vanguard, so you could easily swap those out. Got the Fortress World Origin Temperatures Carapace, so we're stacking a lot of toughness over on this guy. We've got the Roaring Thunder over into the secondary, so yeah, we're getting a lot of mileage out of Abalard. But yeah, this Epiphany with the Pneumo Boots is absolutely insane. It's basically Void Veteran Boots, but in Act 2. Idra is still acting as our support sniper rifle, so at this point she has Cruel Fate, so yeah, when she scores critical hits, they regain 1 AP, so on a Fine Tower, you'll just keep firing till you run out of AP. I'm using Tamer of the Imperium, so we've got quite a bit of psi rating coming in. She's still got the Spirit Trait, but I've also got the Celestial Eye from DLC 2 now, so as Veil Degradation goes up, so will her hit chance and her crit damage. She's using the Singed Cape and the Psychic Footwear still, and she's still got the Psychic Body Gloves, so these are all pretty nice additions to her. Over on her Raven, she's got the Grave Chill at the moment. For Cassia, we're about to get the Black Signet Ring of the Inquisition, so that's going to be going into where the Flamebird Digi-Weapon is, so yeah, that will be what makes her absolutely OP as soon as she gets it. Still using the Sororitas Boots. We've got Mercy's Gift, so we're going to get an extra 15 bonus to Fellowship once we're in combat. Still using Noble Silk Gloves, because yeah, officers don't really have that many glove upgrades. Yep, still using the Slick Body Gloves. We've now got up to the Warp Guide staff for an Infusing 9, and we're using a Devastating 6 in the Bloodhound staff. I actually forgot to check to see if I even had any more staff upgrades for her at this point, but I don't think so. Anyway, moving on. So yes, we're still using the Signet Ring, so yeah, she's coming through pretty nicely. As for Abalard, as you can see, we do actually have a variety of rock swords, so you could potentially put in a rock sword like the Heavy Emergency Cutter and be using that with the Malpain Shroud to be doing quite a bit of damage. But now that Malpain Shroud is percentage damage, not base damage, it's not as valuable as it used to be. Pneumo Boots with Epiphany, I actually think is way more valuable. Pascal using the stun for Lidless Stare as well as self-calibrating goggles is doing a lot, especially with the Dark Makasa here. Yeah, he yeah, he's firing a lot, reloading a lot, doing a crap ton of damage. We got the reinforced boots just to get his toughness up to 40 because there's no other boot options really, and it's just nice to have the extra health. Still using plasma shaped gloves. We've now got the shifting combi tool for plus 20 tech use and the portable cogitators for more logic. So yeah, these are coming in quite nicely. Still using the hypnotizing pendant because we've not had any upgrades. Same with his camouflage robe, but the main MVP here is going to be self-calibrating goggles, and we've now got the adaptive flak vest. So when we go into combat, we will get an extra 3 deflection and 15% armor, so that will bring him up to 75% armor and 4 deflection. So he is going to be a pretty tanky boy. Over on Argenta, she is looking scary. Well, some people might not agree scary, but I'm not going to go into that. But anyway, gunslinger's helmet, so she'll do extra damage based on rate of fire, so that's going to stack incredibly well with the heavy bolter. I've gone over to the Kibellah pendant because I'm stacking willpower now, so yeah, we get 10 here on kills. Chains of domination will add 5. I've given her the Book of War prayers because she is our main damage dealer. There's no point in her not having it. She's also got the tactical backpack with the recoil gloves, so yeah, having that rate of fire 9 before we even add a rapid fire, still pretty huge. Still using the Death World Enforcer like carapace, and we've got the dynamo boots. As you can see, I've put on Fiery Retribution, which is one of the DLC heavy flamers, but you could still use her shotgun if you really wanted to, but because I'm not using the shotgun gloves anymore to generate temp HP, I felt like this was a little bit better here. Moving on to Kibellah, we have the Mechanicus Respirator. You'll want one of these for each of the executioners early on. She's using the Anatomist Amulet, which we picked up to get some extra stacks of our dots when we apply them. Spinner's Breastplate is going to be very useful if you're using Invigorating Screams. Having Seal of Death, it's not too bad to add some staggered, and stacking some more Medicae from the Trujan's Manual is something that is really nice. Still using her Crimson Oblivion, but we're evening out the lack of weapon skill bonuses with Swashbuckler's Cloak, and this will increase her crit damage. Still using the Skirmisher Boots, but currently we have the Exotic Venom Blade and the Scorpion Sting. So we got some big Blade Dance upgrades, so we'll be applying all 3 dots with that Dogmatic too. On to Heinrix, we've managed to pick up the Cursebringer, so when this weapon hits, target must pass a willpower resistance test or suffer 5 levels of warp burn, so we can now get a 4th dot coming in. This is going to be very useful, especially once you then get the secondary one. He's also using the Mechanicus Respirator and the Diagnoser to get another 30 into his Medicae, because whilst Kibellah will naturally have 144 because she'll stack a lot more from weapon skill, yeah, Heinrix is still unfortunately reliant on intelligence, so his Medicae will be a lot lower. Still using the Require Meter to be able to get out that mental damage to biophysical distortion people, and still using Pack of Regents to be applying more dots. But yeah, Inertia Boots, still MVP, and we can stack extra agility from the Armor of Hidden Promise thanks to that. And now we've got the Staff of Endless Flame to our secondaries, so we'll be getting some big bursts on the Inferno here. So yeah, we'll be doing a lot of shots and quite a bit of damage coming in with that. Still got the Augmented Gloves, so yeah, we're increasing our strength from weapon skill. Now his strength could be 50 by now, depending on where you put that level up from level 15 back in previously, or no, I believe level 40. But yeah, at the moment we've got the Blood Drinker, but as we go into the next act, we're actually going to see some pretty big upgrades. One of the things that I could actually quickly go buy is probably his most MVP item, which I haven't bought from the shop, so I'll quickly do that. So one of his biggest upgrades is the Warp Surge Brooch. So as soon as you put this bad boy onto him, yeah, you get a lot of extra turns based on your psi rating. So now he'll have 5 additional attacks on his first turn. So yeah, this man is going to be solo clearing encounters, especially with those Inertia Boots. He's just going to be going around smacking and destroying everything, especially with Cursebringer adding in all those extra dots. And as you slash, you'll also get a lot more of extra attacks as well. So yeah, you will want to be using those stims if you've not been using them, because yeah, Heinrix is going to make very good use of them, and the same with any Scorchers that you've got laying around, which are renewable. So yeah, they're going to be incredibly potent on Heinrix. Next up on Jay, we've got the improved Shuriken pistol, which came from Janus, along with the Return pattern foe hammers. And in her secondary, I am using Deadly Repeater because I've got the shotguns in the secondary now. But as you can see, her armor is at 124%. Yeah, that's a lot of armor. So just swapped her back over to the Charles Pendant again because I made the same mistake. Heart of Nameless is on there, and the St. Cognatia Scriptures along with the Breacher's armor. These all turn Law Imperium into armor. So yeah, 124% damage reduction. Enemies are going to struggle to hurt her. Still able to lower enemy stats with Thrice Pioneer's Braces. Still using Rotrade's Cloak and the Commissar Boots to stack her Fellowship. And yeah, the Helmet of Determination also adding quite a bit of armor here. She is incredibly tanky. As Master Tactician, Vanguard, or even Overseer, she's going to be very useful. And I'm now using Beyond Sanity, though Beyond Logic is still perfectly usable over on the Servo Skull. Next up, Yearalit. So I'm using the Outcast Visor, though you can use a different one on her. Still using her Wraithbone Necklace, still using Metronome, and now Bead of Concentration. So I've moved those over from Pascal. Still using the Hunter's Farm Armor, that's probably going to stay around for a very long time. She's now using the Apex Predator's Gloves, which are going to be very useful with her Bounty Hunter stuff. And because of using stuns from allies, she will be able to proc some things. Ideally, she does want the self-calibrating goggles as a Bounty Hunter, but she's going to be a little bit more reliant on Cassia because those are over on Pascal. Using the Kibellah Cloak and the Ergo Boots just to get some more stat increases. But yeah, she now has the Wanderer's Potent and access to the Science of Shael, so you'll be seeing quite a lot of sniper damage coming in her, and you'll be seeing quite a few multiple attacks, especially if you've got Heretic too. So yeah, she'll have some very strong first turns. We've also recruited Solomon by this point. Solomon is very good if you go into dual weapon combat. He's using his Deptus Arbites helmet to get that coercion up for his vigilant stuff. Same with the Ironclad Argument. I'm using the Warworld Enforcer's Carapace here, so he gets extra dodge because he doesn't get dodge reduction for medium armors. I've got the Enemy Finder, so he can start applying exhaustion, and he's also got the Overseer Aquilia on here. Overseers Aquilia. Overseers, oh my goodness. Yeah, so he gets some temporary wounds, but Relished Anguish on him is going to be very potent. So he'll be able to use that with like a regular Retobobi pattern shotgun. But in secondary set, having the Crescendo is going to be very good for building up temp wounds and stuff like the Nullifying Shotgun, along with using stuff like the Cloak of Hatred. And I've given him the Tactical Boots, so I can cause enemies to get knocked back when they try to make attacks of opportunity. Yep, he's going to be very useful and quite a good addition to the team, though his movement's going to be a little bit limited by the fact that he doesn't have dash, but there's not much we can do about that until we get into exemplar ranks. Yeah, and over on Gleato, we've got Living Snare, so Gleato is going to be incredibly effective and incredibly potent. For those of you that have wanted to go for shield, Abalard, yeah, using the Heavy Maul with Fleet Combat Training is going to get you a lot of offhand shield bonks, so that's going to be pretty useful, and you're going to have a big variety of shields that you've got through here. For those of you that are going into heavy armor for Heinrix, yeah, Cyclops Breastplate you'll have by now, which will be a very nice addition to him. And this will complete sort of going into Act 2, about to go into Act 3. And yeah, and for Act 4, you'll see all the items from the previous build video, so this should complete your guide through on what gearing you should be using. When it comes time for combos, like I said, one of the best things to always have in party is an officer. Just having an officer to buff you on turn 1 is going to be what guarantees your success. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you have, do like below, subscribe, leave a comment, and all that usual stuff that helps us in the algorithm, and I'll see you all in the next video.